Quantum detox. Los Angeles was slowly sinking into the golden syrup of sunset. Skyscrapers cast long shadows. Streets below shimmered with neon, reflecting off glass facades. On the rooftop of Solstice Tower, among glossy surfaces and soft spotlights, stood Amber Mitchell, and the whole world was watching her. Drones hovered at the perfect angle. In her hand, a capsule engraved with QD11. Small, almost weightless, like a perfume bottle. But inside, the result of 8 years of research and one obsessive idea, that it was possible to live without pain. Friends, her voice was soft, like cotton wrapping. Starting today, you no longer have to remember the bad. You no longer have to carry the shadow. Today marks the beginning of a new era, the era of a clear mind. Thousands of viewers watched the live stream, scattered across the globe. From Tokyo apartments, Mumbai studios, beaches in Sydney. Comments flowed in. Queen Amber, finally, I'm ready. The pulse of likes beat in rhythm, like the heart of civilization. Amber raised the capsule toward the light, and for a moment, something inside shifted. Not a glint, not a bubble, more like a shadow. And then, a fragment from childhood surfaced. A bloodstain on a dress, a retreat on a rocky beach. Her mother, lips pressed tight, tossing a shirt over her shoulder and whispering, "Don't cry, sweetheart. People sense weakness. Don't remember this. Just forget it." She was 7. That was the first time she realized that pain was something dirty, that shame was stronger than trauma. Her smile didn't flicker, but her fingers tightened slightly. For weeks now, she'd had the eerie feeling that something was watching through the glass. Not from inside, but from the substance itself, as if the capsule was breathing. She took a breath and swallowed the capsule. No shock, no light, only a faint tremble in the air around her. On screen, the words appeared, "Detox complete." No one noticed her pupils dilate. No one heard her whisper, alone in the silence. What if we erased the wrong thing? Below, the city buzzed, unaware that the first rift had already opened in the sky, the place where memory became matter, and waited. The Amber Core Center resembled a futuristic temple, polished concrete, whitewashed walls, biosensory lights that responded to a client's emotional state. There were no sharp corners, only soft curves, flowing lines, and a kind of acoustic stillness, as if the building itself was holding its breath. The procedure room sat at the core of the complex, a sterile capsule with translucent walls surrounded by rings of quantum projectors. It all looked elegant, even beautiful, if one forgot that over 50,000 memories had been erased here. We don't remove your pain. We simply push it beyond the edge of what can be heard, said one of the consultants with a gentle smile. Your mind isn't a cabinet, it's a stream. We only redirect the flow. On the reclining table lay a man in his mid-30s, his expression frozen in relief. His name was Jeff Morgan, a former firefighter. He had helped during the wildfires in Arizona, lost 3 of his crew. Now, he wanted to forget how the last one screamed. Amber watched the procedure from the observation room behind a panoramic glass wall. The screens pulsed with graphs, amygdala activity, declining cortical waves, gradual shifts in neural patterns. Everything was proceeding according to protocol. And yet, something shifted inside her. She remembered, a year ago, before the launch of the first capsule, during her own therapy, a psychologist had offered to delete a single, specific traumatic memory. In that memory, a scream, a shattered glass mug, a hand recoiling too violently. She agreed, but at the last second, she stopped. If I erase this, I'll forget why I ever chose to change everything. Since then, she knew, Not everyone was strong enough to carry it. Not everyone should have to. But everyone deserved the choice. The process began with an injection of nanostimulators to initiate quantum resonance between memory and projection matrix. Then, laser excitation of targeted neural areas until the desired fragment fell out of the network. After 12 minutes, the screen displayed trauma signature detached, containment successful. "He'll sleep for about an hour," said the technician. "When he wakes, there'll be mild amnesia, then emotional sterility. He won't remember the event, the feelings, or what it taught him." Amber nodded, though something stirred in her chest. At the last moment, Jeff had managed to whisper, "Just tell them I tried." An hour later, he would awaken. He would no longer know who he had tried to save, or why. Amber looked at him like at an empty shell. No pain, no guilt, no anchor. And for the first time, she felt maybe this was the most terrifying thing of all. The name Dr. Elliot Singh never appeared in press releases. He wasn't mentioned in Amber's podcasts or on any conference panels. But he, a theoretical physicist, immigrant from Kolkata, former researcher at the Non-Local Matter Lab, was the one who had laid the foundation for the EQS algorithm, entangled quantum suppression, the core of quantum detox. He contacted Amber through a secure channel, an old-fashioned message with no metadata, one line only. "You're not cleansing, you're dumping into a field, and it's not infinite." They met at a worn-down cafe on the outskirts of Pasadena. Elliot looked exhausted. In his folder were images, not photos, but visualizations of non-local interaction fields recorded in a superconducting ring, the original lab's core. The images showed energy clusters mimicking patterns of human neural networks. "Have you ever felt a room suddenly shrink, as if someone else's memories just walked in?" he asked without lifting his eyes. "That's not a metaphor, it's physics." He paused, then added, "I had a brother. We survived a flood together as kids. He got trapped under rubble. I couldn't pull him out. Years later, when I was working on this tech, I thought, what if I could just erase it?" Amber said nothing. Singh clenched his fist. "I couldn't do it, because I realized if I erased that memory, I'd erase myself. I'd be cleaner, but not whole." He looked up at her. "And now you're giving people what I was too afraid to do, only they don't know where it's all going." For the first time, Amber heard the term, the pain vault. According to Singh's theory, each act of quantum suppression doesn't erase a memory, but detaches it and redirects it into a global non-local field, a kind of quantum funnel. At first, it was stable. Then, it began to pulse, glitch, whisper. It's not just memory. It's a collective rejection of pain, which means collective guilt, a collective being. Amber pulled back. Her voice wavered. "Are you sure it's not just noise?" Singh shook his head. "It's a face. I saw its outline in the field. It kept changing, as if it were becoming whole." He wasn't trying to frighten her. He was pleading. But it was already too late. The program had scaled globally, and every new client, every cleansing, added another piece to something that was no longer just a field. At first, it looked like a routine technical glitch. The Amber Core system in Tokyo registered an anomalous spike in activity during a procedure. The client, a young student named Noriko Arai, suddenly screamed, even though her brain was supposed to be in deep synaptic suppression. She couldn't recall what she screamed, only that someone was trying to get in. 2 days later, a similar incident occurred in Barcelona. The client complained that after the detox, he began having dreams where he wasn't himself. He woke up feeling like he was in someone else's body. Dirt appeared beneath his fingernails, even though he slept in a sterile room. His voice on audio recordings began to tremble, and strange phrases echoed in the background, phrases he never said. Labs began receiving anomalous reports, mirrors fogging for no reason, monitors flashing with phrases like, "You left us," "Remember," "She gathered us," each one in a font that seemed slightly distorted, as if the letters themselves were trembling. Inside the quantum core in Los Angeles, a sudden energy surge occurred. One of the engineers, Isaac, saw patterns on the screen that resembled an EKG, but the rhythm didn't match any biological signal. It looked like breathing. Slow. Deliberate. Isaac tried to copy the logs, but the file deleted itself. In its place, one line appeared. "We feel. We're close." Amber still maintained public composure, but that night, the vestibule screen in her apartment turned on by itself. On it, her own face, but the eyes were wrong. Darker. Tired. It said, "You know where I'm from, and you know who's next." It wasn't a dream. The system confirmed an activation at 3:33 a.m., but there was no footage, no entry in the logs. For the first time, Amber thought, maybe Elliot was right. Maybe something really was trying to come back. At first, they were just coincidences. Clients across continents began describing the same dreams. The sky too low, someone watching from within them. A woman, her face resembling Amber's, standing against a pulsing backdrop, whispering, "You no longer belong to yourself." Supervisors didn't connect the dots immediately. Internal reports marked it as post-detox residual distortion, until one incident crossed the line. In Zurich, at the Amber Core Prime Clinic, a client screamed during the final scan. He tore off the sensors, struck a technician, and kept shouting, "She stitched us into a monster! I saw it! She locked us in like cages!" Amber learned about the case 2 hours before her flight to New York. She had a feeling, not fear, something colder, like the attention of something nameless was turning toward her. When she returned to her apartment, a box was waiting in the lobby. No address, no label. Inside, an old stuffed dog, worn with one glass eye, stained, smelling of smoke. She didn't remember the toy, but something in her tightened. A bitter taste rose in her throat. At the bottom of the box lay a burnt scrap of paper. On it, "We remember what you erased first." Amber stood at the window, her silhouette reflected in the glass. But the eyes in the reflection were not hers. Deeper, stranger, not alone. He didn't appear suddenly. He gathered, like a shadow in a warm room, like a second echo mistaken for floorboards creaking. At first, pressure in the chest, as if the air grew denser. Then, random goosebumps, heat in the room, and yet a chill. A metallic taste on her tongue. And thoughts, slightly misaligned, like reflections where something is off. Amber didn't see him with her eyes, but with her skin. He appeared at the edges, in the elevator's glass, the camera lens, the ripple of water in a glass, a silhouette, elongated, stretched by pain. His features trembled like compressed data. A woman's face, a child's eyes, a mouth twisted in scream, burns, a man's unshaven jaw frozen in panic. But the face? Too many emotions on one face. As if fear, shame, betrayal, despair, all the pain humanity ever tried to forget, looked through a single pair of eyes. And they looked only at her. He didn't come closer, but he was nearer than breath. Amber told no one, she just observed. Sometimes recorded audio notes. In one of them, her voice shook. "He knows I know, but he doesn't want to kill. He wants to be. He asks to be returned, or to be taken." Dr. Singh summoned her to the basement of the old Caltech campus. He connected the neural detector output to a projector, synced with the quantum core. The image materialized slowly in a haze, a shape changing every second but keeping its form. Not noise. Structure. It's no longer just a field pattern, Singh said. It's adapting. It has a personality now. It who? A composition, collective pain. We suppressed too much, and it built itself from the pieces. Every detox strengthened it. Every forgotten name, every banished fear became its cell walls. He fell silent, then added, "It can't die. It has no body, but it has a will, and it wants to come back." That night, Amber was alone. The lights flickered. A dampness crept through the apartment, like someone had opened a hatch beneath the city. She sat on the floor. Darkness thickened around her. A shadow pressed against her shoulders. Her heart pounded in her throat. He stood behind her and whispered with the voices of the forgotten, "You gathered us. Now accept us." The decision came not as a revelation, but as silence, too deep to be empty. Amber sat in the archive room of the lab, surrounded by old equipment, decommissioned capsules, and protocols labeled "Subject Lost Access to Authentic Identity." On the wall, a holographic display of the vault. It no longer looked abstract. Its outline resembled a human figure, a faceless one. Only pulses of pain and discarded voices stitched into a non-local presence. Dr. Singh stood beside her, silent. He had already pleaded. "If you connect with it directly, it will enter you. You won't come back the same. It won't let go." Amber had answered quickly, but only now allowed herself to admit, "All this time, I said I did it for others, for cleansing. But I was running too, from memories, from guilt, from the question I feared most. What if everything I built came from fear? If I walk away now, it'll be the last escape. But if I come back, maybe I'll finally be whole." "I don't want to go back to who I was," she said. "I want to be whole, even if it means becoming the vessel for everything we tried to forget." They restored the original detox capsule. Not the domed commercial unit, but the prototype, a solitary chamber. Gray, matte, rust around the seals. Not made for cleansing, made for confrontation. Amber lay inside, the walls sealed. The silence was womb-like. Then it began. Not light, not electricity, weight. As if warmth drained from her bones. The first wave, a father's pain after losing his child. Then a woman's terror locked in a stranger's room. Then a soldier's panic, hearing screams but unable to help. Then an old man's emptiness, forgetting his wife's face. Each feeling entered her like icy air in fragile lungs. No filters, no pauses, no boundaries. Neurons didn't fire, they overloaded. Her heart sounded an alarm. Pupils dilated to full. Amber screamed, but no sound escaped. Only the body remembered, in every nerve, every joint. If I break, it will escape. If I endure, maybe it will become me. After 7 minutes, the chamber shut down. Inside, silence. Amber didn't move. She was barely breathing. Dr. Singh stood at the glass, and in his eyes was something he hadn't felt in years, awe. He knew. She had done the impossible. She had taken it all, and remained. The world didn't notice when things went quiet. Glitches stopped. Monitors no longer whispered. Mirrors showed only reflections. People laughed on the streets again, sipped coffee in their favorite places, forgot what it felt like to cry for no reason. The Amber Core system recorded no further spikes in non-local energy. The vault was silent. Amber was gone. Officially, a disappearance during a private experimental procedure. A failed test. A risk she had willingly accepted. Signed, archived, abandoned. But something remained. In the suburbs of Phoenix, Jeff Morgan stood by a worn-down fence. The house was boarded up. Overgrown yard. The memorial plaque faded by sun and time. He didn't know whose house it was. No name, no face, no reason for coming. But his chest tightened like a long breath held too long, and he cried, silently, wordlessly, as if not his mind, but his body remembered, something that should never have been forgotten. In Topanga, in the hills where Amber once lived before fame, the house stood empty. Only an old tablet sat on the table with a file unmarked by date. On screen, a video. Amber sits by a window. Sunlight cuts her silhouette out of shadow. She says nothing at first, just looks, slowly, without makeup, without filters, without needing to be liked. If you're seeing this, it means I'm no longer who I was, or maybe I'm no longer at all. Maybe the difference doesn't matter. A pause, a breath. We wanted to be clean, weightless, free from pain. But pain isn't a virus. It's a trace. It's memory. It's a form of love. What hurts tells us that we still care. Her voice trembles, but she continues. I took them in, all of them, their screams, their fear, their loneliness. And you know, there was beauty in it. Not in the pain, but in the right to be heard, finally, truly. Elsewhere, in a children's center in San Diego, a girl named Leah drew on the floor with chalk. Her drawing showed a glowing woman with long arms and smiling eyes. Who's that? A teacher asked. The lady who visited me in a dream, Leah said. She told me, don't forget, even if it hurts. The file fades to black, and somewhere across the world, people began to cry. Not from sorrow, but as if someone had touched something inside, as if they remembered something important and couldn't say exactly what it was. Someone heard a voice. You are not alone. And that was enough.